At home with a lifetime of stories and songs, people we've met and the places we've gone. Along the way found where and how we belong. At home with a lifetime of stories and songs. Welcome to More Songs and Stories from Home, podcasts that give voice to songs with stories and stories with songs written and being written over the course of a lifetime, often illuminating the journey we all make, together and alone, finding our way home. 1968, Part 4. I kept my promise to Bill Milliken to come back to New York after L.A. My jobs were varied that summer. I helped open and run a storefront where kids could come and hang out. Helped coach some youth football at a park by the East River. Provided music at camps in upstate New York that took kids out of the city. Some days just standing on the corner, talking, sharing a slice. In 1968, the Lower East Side was melting pot America come alive. Two of my roommates were from Puerto Rico. The other, an African American with lots of his friends living in the nearby Smith projects. Chinatown a few blocks away. Orthodox Jews around the corner on Houston Street. Our place, 243 East Broadway, an easy stroll to the Bowery. When the leadership team met at someone's apartment or at a storefront, we would often form a circle and join hands, colorful, meaningful moments of connection. I remember the 4th of July that summer. The whole world outside on a stoop or the street, every corner exploding with fireworks. We had no air conditioning. One evening I took the F train uptown, close to midnight, 100 degrees, raining, welcome to New York. Nothing like anything I'd seen before. Nowhere like anywhere I'd been before. The people I was spending time with making me feel both wanted and somehow needed. By the end of the summer, I was getting the hang of hanging out and starting to feel at home on those streets. I stopped by in Minnesota on the way back to the West Coast, spending a few days with extended family. We were outside one evening. I stood and watched as the sun went down. I realized I hadn't been aware of the sun all summer. I stood there for the longest time, embraced by and embracing the setting sun. Hey Jude, the sounds of silence, Hendrix on the radio. Bob Beeman's jump black power salutes were raised in Mexico. We gave the Heisman Trophy to someone we called OJ. We saw it all in black and white in 1968. So I'm back in New York City, and first time, and we had a meeting the next day, kind of a fundraising meeting, and we were all in the storefront, and I think across the table from us, I can't remember, but people that were willing to give money to the inner city, and Bill was wonderful at convincing people what a good cause it was, how important it was to, and he talked, and then he introduced the people behind him, when I was one of them, and he kind of stumbled over my my name, and he said, and I said the Seattle Kid, which was, and he said, no. So this is Mark Pearson, he said. And something in me, I kind of knew, well, I've arrived in a way. And then a most amazing thing happened. I went outside, and all those kids that had been there, had been this started as a group of faces, and then they get some names, and all of a sudden they were coming up to me and telling me how much they liked my singing, how much they liked the music, and how much fun they had. A week in Bermuda, didn't we have that week in Bermuda? And all of a sudden, and not just that outside guy, but I was somebody that had come to that place and been himself, and they saw something that they didn't understand exactly. It was not music they listened to all the time, but we were all of a sudden in the same community. And one of the couple of the things that I did for work there was a couple of guys and I ended up spending 2 or 3 weeks cleaning out another storefront and turned it into a coffee shop or a community center or a place for kids to come and gather and just be and that was it was amazing. I was thinking about it. I was thinking of the different sounds and the smell. I mean, it was just that clatter. But I do remember when I was getting the bathrooms all cleaned out, and you put this little cake of this cake in the urinal, and I remember the smell of that, and trying to get everything ship shape before the kids come in, and they came every day. And then as the summer wore on, there was a guy nicknamed the Bear, and he had and he was a football coach, and he had a group of young kids, and I'd played football at the university, and so I was football coach, and that was just another way of and all of a sudden the routine got pretty regular, and I remember Eddie Guest and Clark one time we were kind of laughing where they said, "You want to come down to watch a movie? Go down to 42nd Street, which is about as far uptown as I got." And I hesitated just long enough for them to say, "Hey, we're not prejudiced." And I said, "Well, I'd love to come." And off we went, and what I realized when is that this is a world that I guess I knew it existed, but I didn't know that there was room for me. I didn't know how I'd exist in there. And but then by the end of the summer, it felt, parts of it felt amazing. I mean, just the difference on the 4th of July, for instance, everybody in the Lower East Side was on the street, outside, on the stoops, on the street. I mean, it was just, the world was alive, the community was alive, and walking the streets, I was part of it, and it was amazing, and then summer was over, and I realized that the life, in a certain sense, the life I'd been living, that one of going toward medical school and toward that white picket fence and toward maybe going back to Spokane and being a doctor like my dad, it was it felt out. Well, it was out of reach in a certain lot of ways, but well, at the same time as it was feeling more and more out of reach, the other worlds, that world of standing on that stage with these different TV stars and these different musical acts and walking the streets of New York City, it was like a window to a different world, and then maybe even a doorway to a different world. And I remember stopped in Minnesota to see family before I went back to Spokane, and then on to talk to to see my parents. And I remember there was a sunset. It was the first sunset that I saw all summer long. You don't see it. I never saw a sunset in New York. And in fact, it's another story before I was thinking of one time in that summer I went up to Yonkers, and and I was talking to a young black guy, and we were on the corner and we were each having a slice, and and he was Yonkers. I thought, well, Yonkers, New York, and in the corner, and this fellow was talking about how when he'd been in the military, he'd gone all around the world, and now he's back home. And I said, well, why'd you come back to Yonkers? Again, and his answer was a lot better than my question, because he looked at me. He said, why? I came back to Yonkers because it's home. And so I've realized that ever since, that's that Odysseus, that search for home, and he knew right where his home was, and I'd seen a window into these other worlds, and I remember the sun going down. I remember watching that sunset and thinking, I wonder about tomorrow. And I went back and sat down with my dad, and we have the chair, here now where he used to sit in, and he kind of sat in this chair, a pretty wise guy, and I said, Dad, I'm thinking of that I might go back to New York, and I'm thinking that I might go to L.A. and maybe just try music for a while. And he kind of paused, and he said, maybe you ought to go back to the university and finish up your education. And so it didn't take me long to think, pretty wise guy. I think I'll do that, but I think I'll do that in a way with a little different approach.
Thank you for watching or listening to more songs and stories from home. Come back next time for part 5 of 1968. Knowing you're welcome here at home with a lifetime of stories and songs.